Welcome everyone. We have a few more people showing up and then we will get started. Thanks for coming. Okay, Shreya, do you want to get us started?
Sure. Hey guys, my name is Shreya Nanagunda and I'm a junior at Raleigh Charter High School. Today we're going to have a couple of panelists speak about the different ways we can talk about the environment, and we'll discuss ways to start conversations with your family and your friends about climate change and other environmentally related topics. This webinar is really important because communication is a significant step into helping our Earth. Being able to communicate with other people about your opinions and facts about climate change can raise awareness and bring our communities and the world closer together. Hopefully, after you listen to our panelists, you will be inspired to talk to your family and your peers about the environment. Starting conversations can be impactful and can help you and the ones around you gain different perspectives and insights. So feel free to share anything you've learned from this panelist with your friends or through social media with hashtag #TZWTeensTalk or tagging Towards Zero Waste. And if you have any questions about what we're talking about, you can put it directly in the chat or you can chat the host. And at the end, we'll have around 20 minutes at the end of the webinar to discuss any questions or comments you might have. So now we're going to introduce our panelists. Or our panelists are going to introduce themselves. We have a variety of different people, from club leaders to interns and members of different environmental groups. So first we have Logan from NC State Towards Zero Waste Wolves.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Like she said, my name's Logan. I work with the Office of Waste Reduction and Recycling as an intern, or more specifically, a Zero Waste Wolfpack intern. I am a senior at NC State studying for a dual degree in Sustainable Material Technology and Environmental Technology and Management, kind of a long name. Yeah.
Thanks. Next, we have Aida, who's the leader of her high school environmental club from Green Level.
Yeah, hi. I'm Aida and I use she, her pronouns, and I go to Green Level High School, just like Shreya said, and I kind of got into like environmental issues after seeing like a New York Times article about like how a lot of big cities, like including Shanghai, were gonna drown, and like that kind of struck me because I have a lot of family in Shanghai, and yeah, and I've been to places, a lot of the places that the article kind of mentioned. So that's kind of why I got into the environment. But yeah, I am at Green Level High School, and that's yeah what how I'm kind of involved.
Thanks. Next, we have Prerna, who's part of ACE, which stands for the Alliance for Climate Education.
Hi, my name is Prerna. I am a senior at Unlow High School, and I'm also a Triangle Fellow for the Alliance for Climate Education. So the Alliance for Climate Education, basically, it's an organization where that educates young people on the science of climate change and empowers them to take action. So some of the cool stuff that I've done with them is helping facilitate webinars for Energy Justice North Carolina, and I also participated in their Enough campaign, which is where we wrote postcards to unregistered voters to encourage them to vote for a climate-friendly future.
Thanks. And finally, we have Sammy, who's part of the Environmental Committee Board for the Town Council in Cary.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sammy Bomu, and I'm a junior from Panther Creek High School. So as Shreya said, I'm the teen rep for the Environmental Advisory Board for the Cary Teen Council. And other than that, I really like to do research, and a few things that I've researched so far is the effect of nutritional deficiencies in developing countries. And I really like studying environmental burdens or whatnot on and how it disproportionately affects low income and high income communities. And yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so now to get started, we'll have an anonymous poll. And pretty much this poll will ask if you live in an environmentally conscious household, meaning when you make decisions in your house, do you consider the impacts of the environment? And you can and then we'll have another question asking if you talk about the environment with your friends. So you can just go ahead and answer it, and your names won't be shown. Okay, so the results are out. And so for the first question, a lot of people said that they're very environmentally conscious, meaning like most of their decisions are considered on the environment. And other people said that it is a common discussion. But there are some people who said that they don't really consider the environment when choosing and decisions in their house, and they don't talk that much. Personally, for me, I think my friend group talks a little bit about the environment, but it's definitely not a main topic. And I would go under advocate saying my household is very environmentally conscious. But a lot of people will have very different answers. And I think it's really important to address that, and we do need to talk about the environment. So that is what we're going to do today. And we're going to learn how to do that too. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the questions. So our first question is to the panelists. Do your parents have the same views as you when you for the environment, or did you have to convince them to like be a little bit more environmentally conscious? And if you did have to convince them, how did you speak with them and try to convince them?
I can go. So fortunately for me, my parents do have similar environmental views as me, but something that's kind of different, I guess, is that they're not as, I guess, serious, or they don't think it's as important as I think it is. So something I've kind of done to address that is I like send them articles and just like keep them updated with current news regarding the environment. So that way I can kind of keep them more engaged about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. Like my parents are also hold pretty similar views as me, but I would say that my relatives, like my other relatives, kind of are also less like they do believe in like climate change and stuff, but yeah, like they might not be as caring towards like policies or different things that the government could do. So just like Prirana said, I try to send my I try to so for example, like I talked about earlier, I read that article about Shanghai, like a city in China, going underwater in just like a couple of decades, and like they literally live there. So that would kind of, I guess, make them a little more cautious or concerned towards this topic. And yeah, I think just like trying to give them science-based stories.
Anyone else? Yeah, for me, my mom was really into the environment, so I actually got it through her. But I do know that for some households, it's like you want to do something, like maybe you want to start bringing like different bags to the grocery store or something, but it's not like something you do a lot. So it's something you have to convince your parents to do, but the hassle of like doing a little bit more work, they might not want to. So like how Prerna said, sending articles, it's always a great like way to like share facts and information. And as Aida said, like the article that she was reading does impact like her relatives and her family. So that's something that might convince people to like, hey, you know what, this is like where I live, or my relatives live there. Like this is an important issue. We should be doing something about it. Our next question is, how do you inform your peers about these problems, and how do you encourage action? And what should you not do when you're trying to inform people about these problems or convince them of something?
Oh, I'll take this one. Or start. Sorry, Sammy, I saw you on mute. How I generally inform, I'm in a unique position being an intern at NC State. So before COVID happened, I was always out discussing environmental problems with NC State students, and I even had presentations that would take to other high schools as well, tell them about our waste management and waste management problems, both in Wake County and around the world. So sometimes it is just bringing those problems to the forefront and then backing them up with with a scientific basis and real numbers. Sometimes people forget about how useful real numbers are in a conversation. And I guess the one thing that you shouldn't do when you do that is gatekeep in a way. I know I've had experiences, as a freshman, I wasn't super environmental because I was still figuring out what I was interested in, but I forgot to compost one thing. And instead of someone being like, hey, that can be composted, you should compost that, I had someone look at me like I just kicked puppy and tell me that needs to be composted. So it's all about how you go about interacting with people as well. So
I agree with what Logan was saying, and I think that it's really important to be spreading awareness on this. And I think another thing would be practicing what you preach. So if I'm telling my friends to do something, I try to do it first before I tell them. And also kind of adding, like, I don't know if this would be the right word per se, but like making sustainability practices desirable. So like, I was talking to my friend about this like a week ago or something, but I forgot what the context was. But like over summer, I took like old shirts and stuff and I made them all pretty into like tote bags and like cloths that you could use to clean like your kitchen cabinets and whatnot. And I gave them to my friend and I was like, here, you could use these and I will use them too. And I think doing small gestures like that and like, as I said before, practicing what you preach could probably be a good first step to take for that.
Also adding on, I think that another important thing when having these conversations is to really listen to the other person. So I think a lot of times if you just run in with a bunch of like facts and statistics and like a lot of passion, especially if you're talking to someone who might not believe in it as strongly as you do, a lot of times people could just shut down or just stop listening to you. So it's kind of important to also like ask them questions like, how do you feel about climate change, or how do you feel about global warming, and try to listen to what they have to say, because when they see you as like listening to them, they're more likely to also listen to you too.
Yeah, thank you. This is all great advice. An important thing to think about is you're trying to have a conversation with them. You're not trying to argue with them or prove that you're right and someone else is wrong. You're just trying to converse and just share information and share opinions. So as Logan said, like not yelling at someone because they didn't compost something correctly, or just, listening to someone else and not just automatically assuming that they're wrong is always a great way. And communication. That is how communication works when it's a two-way street. Okay, our next question is, what do you say to the naysayer, someone who just doesn't believe in climate change or just doesn't want to do the extra work to be environmentally sustainable.
Sorry. Yeah, I can go first. I think that this is, yeah, definitely kind of a tough situation for sure, because you know, people have probably already had conversations with them before. And I think it's just like we said before, like you have to listen to like what their like way of thinking is, and kind of like you can't, you know, go dramatically, or you can't dramatically oppose them in any way, but you just have to, like, I think it just takes time, and like just to have continuous conversations with them, I think would always be beneficial.
Yeah, and I would like to add on, sometimes sustainability is not always all about the environment as well. So maybe they are not so much about the environment part, but maybe they like profit. Well, one of the things that sustainability does bring about in some cases is, well, we're using less resources, so we're using, you know, less raw material, we're having to extract more, we're having to mine less, so we're better for the environment, and we're also saving money. So if this is someone that's more business focused, they're going to rather see, oh, well, maybe this is something that can help make a profit.
Yeah, Logan brings up an important point of when everyone has a different reason why they're for the environment or why they're so dedicated to the environment. And it's important to go understand what people's interests are, or what they really believe in, or what's important to them, and try to go that way and try to converse with them that way and show them the benefits of, you know, being sustainable and helping the environment that way. Our next question is, what are some things you can say to get the conversation started, either to your friends, your family, your peers, anyone?
I think an important thing before you even start having a climate conversation is making sure that they're in the right like mindset to have one. So like maybe not approaching them while they're watching TV or texting their friend or something, and just like approach them and be like, hey, can you have this climate conversation right now? And if they like seem receptive, and if they're like, yeah, sure, then you could be like, okay, like I'm gonna turn off the TV, or I'll wait until you finish your text or something like that. So wait until you kind of have their full attention and then proceed to have the conversation.
I think that what Perena said was pretty important. And I think that both Ada and Perena talked about this in like a previous question, but I think sending articles and stuff that you find interesting, I mean, it might not always be interesting to the person that you're sending it to, but I think that it's a good way to spark interest. Like if it's something that's really cool and pertains to something that the other person is interested in, that would be a pretty cool way to start a conversation.
Yep, pretty much all your points were great. But that pretty much leads us really well into our next question, which is, what is the bridge conversation you can have? Meaning, like, what is a bridge conversation? And why is it important to have a bridge conversation when talking about in the environment, especially to people who are against it?
I think my view on a bridge conversation is just like kind of seeing how like the environmental issues connect to whatever the person you're talking to cares about. So I think like one thing is that in like environmental issues are very like intersectional, like they can relate to almost anything. So yeah, just like making sure that like knowing who you're talking to can be really important, and like having that bridge conversation can also be really important. Just like, yeah, I think, yeah, there's just like so many topics like environmental justice and like Logan mentioned before, like policies and money, and yeah, there's like so many topics. So
Yeah, I guess to add on, there's always some way to connect it, to bridge it. The way I usually do it working on a campus is it's a very local view. So I'm always looking to see what people's problems are, just asking them, you always start a conversation with, oh, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going about doing it. But sometimes they want to bring in their own introspective, their own ideas. And that's a great way to be like, oh, that's a great idea. We can always link X to Z, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. We've been talking about it for like the past few questions, but yeah, there's many different ways that you can relate someone's interest to the environment, and that's basically what a bridge conversation is, just relating something they like to something about the environment and just convincing them about why they should be environmentally conscious. This question is more personal, but what event or thing got you really interested in the environment, and how can what got you interested help you get someone else interested in it? Geez, sorry.
I could answer this question first. So I got interested in the environment from a pretty young age, but most of my interest at like a young age was just, wow, it's really pretty and stuff. Because we used to travel to India a lot, and we come from a place called Kurnool, and it's like we have like a small little farm and stuff. And my uncle and like most of my dad's side of the family, they're all like farmers and stuff. And so from that age, it's just seeing what they do and like the amount of respect they give to that land and stuff. It really like got me interested. And then once I came into middle school, when we started talking about like global warming and more like environmental issues and stuff, that's when I got interested in like ensuring that we're protecting the environment and stuff like that. And then the other question wait, could you repeat the other question?
Pretty much, I was just trying to say like whatever that you're interested in or got you interested in it, how can you use that to get other people also interested into the environment? Sorry.
You're good. I think that webinars like these are like a perfect way to get other people interested into the environment, because you have like these really real conversations with people who are kind of interested in the same thing you are interested in. And so I think that listening to different perspectives and stuff can get people interested.
I think for me, when I first started getting more involved in climate activism, I didn't really know where I fit in because I thought I needed to have this super cool and super uplifting story that motivated me to become like more involved in climate activism, when in reality that really wasn't the case. But for me personally, I think especially before the pandemic, I would travel a lot with my family. So I've been to like a bunch of different countries, and I've really gotten to experience like the beauty and of Earth and just appreciate it and respect it. And around the same time, I would also like hear about all of these natural disasters and these events happening because of climate change. And I realized that I wanted to be a part of the action and do something to help preserve all of these beautiful places that I've been to. So I think that's really how I got more involved.
I guess what inspired me would have been is I grew up in Western North Carolina, which is very forested, got a lot of mountains, a lot of hiking trails, and I grew up hiking everywhere. And then I came to Raleigh, or I just went to other places, and you see all these like forests and parks and everything being either made smaller or taken down. And I always wanted to protect those places that were dear to me, the forest. And I even did that in high school for my senior project. I worked with the land management company on a piece of land and turned it into a hiking trail that other people could also enjoy in my community. So that's what got me kind of started in it. And then I guess the way I would, activism and just trying to be a part of things plays a big role in getting people out there.
I think I kind of mentioned what got me interested in the environment, but I think something that got me even more like interested was it was kind of like somebody else made the bridge conversation for me, and it was about like environmental racism and environmental justice, and how usually or right now like climate change is disproportionately impacting low income communities and communities of color. And I'm really interested in like social justice work as well, so like seeing the connection between like these two things I was really passionate about just like made my feelings even more stronger. And I know like Sammy mentioned she did some like research on this, so I think that's really cool. But yeah, that's kind of what got me more interested.
That's always, yeah, it's nice that we all have different stories about what got us interested in. For me, I kind of briefly mentioned it, but my mom definitely got me interested in the environment. She was just really big on no plastic bags, to the point we were like the crazy people holding everything in our arms at the grocery store. But she was just really big on it. And then I guess growing up in that environment just got me into it. And I just tried to figure out more and more things that we could do just to be environmentally friendly. Also, guys, feel free to ask any questions in the chat about anything environmentally related or anything like that. And okay, we will move on to our next question. How can you help someone else find that thing that will get them motivated? Or yeah.
I think it kind of just comes down to like how well you know the other person, and like yeah, just like if you know what they're already passionate about, then you can find a way to like tie in the environment with that. So I think it's just like learning and getting to know the other person.
Yeah, also if you know someone who expresses interest in it, like definitely point them towards like, resources or organizations or clubs that they can join to kind of get more involved too.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, great answers. The next question is kind of related to that, but what do you guys have any book, movie, or any entertainment related thing that got you inspired or was really informational to you about the environment and just really impacted you?
Yeah, I have two books actually. One's a real book, one's a comic book. So the first one's A Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. I highly recommend it to anyone that wants a good read, because it really brought out all the harm that we as humans do towards nature, and how we need to change that. It's very informational. I highly recommend it. And then the second one, if you want something that's a little bit more animated, but at the same time have environmental undertones, is the comic book called The Swamp Thing. It discusses basically how humans are destroying nature, and the Swamp Thing's just trying to live his life, but he's being treated as a monster and he's being destroyed by humanity.
I have one book, and I hope I got the title right. It's Animal Vegetable Miracle by Barbara Kingsolver. And she basically talks about how her family for about a year, I think, only ate foods, like survived off of only locally grown food and stuff from their garden and stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool, because that's definitely something that I want to do and hopefully have time for in the future too. Yeah.
So we do on our for Towards Zero Waste, we do have a big book spreadsheet that I know Andrea is working on that is absolutely gigantic, but it has a lot of books on the environment, and there's actually a lot of things out there that can really get you interested. There's lots of like children's books coming out too, which like even if you're not a child, like you can read them. And there's a lot of things coming out there. I think Greta has a new documentary too, about just like her journey and what she did too. So there is a lot of things out there that can get you inspired and is really informational. And you can share to your friends or watch with your friends that you know, just to get you all inspired and motivated. Okay. I think our next question is, what organization or person do you want to shout out or congratulate for their efforts for the environment?
I would shout out for sure the Environmental Advisory Board for Cary. They're awesome. I joined their monthly meetings because I'm their teen rep, but each meeting is so like they do so much work that I feel like should definitely be more people should be aware of it. And like each meeting they're doing something new with like carbon emissions and stuff, and it's just so cool, and I would definitely want to be a part of that when I go to college and stuff. Yeah.
I definitely want to shout out the Office of Waste Reduction and Recycling and other sustainability groups like the Stewards and the Zero Waste Wolfpack at NC State. They all do fantastic work trying to make NC State's campus more sustainable, and at the same time trying to teach our students how to also live a more sustainable life.
I want to shout out Alliance for Climate Education. I think it's a great place that brings together a lot of teens with like-minded views on climate change and the environment. And I also want to shout out NC Warren. I've worked with them and they focus more on environmental justice. And I actually like helped host an environmental justice webinar with them over the summer. And that was like a youth thing. So that was pretty cool. They also do work they also do work with trying to end the Duke energy monopoly. And there's also another organization, Earth Uprising. They have a bunch of different chapters. I work with the Earth Uprising Chapel Hill chapter, and we've like worked on education toolkits to try to incorporate the environment and climate change with different subjects in school.
I want to shout out North Carolina Asian Americans Together. This past week they did like a week of workshops for environmental justice, and they had like organizations like the Sunrise movement from Durham come, and they also had like North Carolina Conservation Network come, and it was really cool and interesting to learn about environmental justice and like its history in North Carolina and kind of how it like originated in North Carolina. And also it was really cool because we did like phone banking and stuff. So I would definitely check them out if you're interested in that, those topics. And also I also want to shout out NC Zero Hour because they do a lot of really informational workshops. And right now I think they're actually doing like a month of environmental like actions and events.
You guys should definitely check out all these organizations and programs that were shouted out because I have heard of a few of them and they are really helpful and great. I would like to shout out Towards Zero Waste, which I mean, yeah, but especially the page that I made. But it's a page about information for Towards Zero Waste, and it's for kids, and it just shows you different things that you can do for like when you're at school or when you're outside, or just like composting tips and all these different things about our environmental problems and ways that we can move towards zero waste. And zero waste is like, you don't have to have no waste at the end of it. It's just a little bit of, yeah, thank you, Andrea. You just have to try to limit your waste that you're doing. And it's definitely a great step or a way to be environmentally conscious. And yeah, you should definitely check out that website. I kind of made it, guys, so you should check it out. Okay, sorry. Next question is, what is the most interesting or craziest fact you have ever learned about the environment?
I can start. So I think one of the most interesting things is like I'm actually taking an environmental science class in my high school right now, and one of the things we learned about was like your carbon footprint, which I'm sure like most people have heard of, and like how you can reduce your carbon footprint by like, I don't know, like getting an electric car or like making less trash and composting and stuff, which is like all really helpful. But I think it was really interesting to learn that like the carbon footprint was created by like, I think like pretty large companies. And I think something that was emphasized in my class was that like, of course, like you should probably you should do your best to like reduce your waste and your own carbon footprint. But like at the end of the day, it's like making sure you're also holding like larger polluters accountable. So I thought that was really interesting, like, because I feel like for most of my life, at least, I've always felt really guilty for you know, polluting the environment, when in reality, like it's kind of a bigger scale thing than that.
I think the craziest fact that I've learned is that 10 out of 15 members of Congress in North Carolina are climate deniers. And that's pretty important because lawmakers play a really big role in passing laws and writing legislation to promote climate action. So when 10 out of 15 members of Congress are climate deniers, they're a lot less likely to like pass those laws and enact like climate action.
Any other crazy facts or information you guys have learned?
I'm trying to think. So many classes I've taken. I guess one of my favorite things is that with recycling, there's more benefits to recycling than you always think there are, such as the reduced need for energy use to make new items from recycled products. So I always tell like an exaggeration. So if it takes 100 watts of energy to extract something from a mountain and then make it all the way into maybe like a soda can, it's 100 watts. And then you throw that away and then you get a new soda can, that's another 100 watts. But if you recycle it, it goes through a different process and then it's only 50 watts to turn it into a new soda can. So now you have two soda cans, but one where you threw them away the first time, that cost 200 watts, whereas the second one only costed 150 watts for two cans because it was recycled instead.
I think that I was actually reading like an article I think last weekend, and it said that there's about $700 trillion worth of gold in the ocean, not even at the surface, like in the water. And I don't think I got the number exactly, but it was like around 700. And I was like, that's a lot of gold and money in the ocean.
Yeah, that's a lot of money in the ocean. I actually don't have any crazy facts that I can share. Sorry, guys. But there is a question in the chat. What is something we can do right now after the call to help the environment? So yeah, I guess it's just asking what is something that people can do just to help the environment?
I think that there's a lot of things that people can do. Like there's a bunch of, I think one of the previous questions touched upon resources like movies and books and other like social media stuff that we could watch to gain like information on it, YouTube is an excellent source. A lot of the sustainability practices that I've learned and all of the like the ideas that I've gotten are from YouTube, like reusing like old clothes and stuff like that. And I also think that spreading awareness is a really important fact because you're going to be more likely to do something if you have a community to do it and you can talk to people when you're trying to get into something. So yeah.
I guess to add on to that, it really is to ask what to do, it really is anything. Like you don't have to be perfect. Like after this talk, you don't have to be the perfect environmentalist person or whatever. It's just really doing something. One of my favorite quotes that I've ever heard is, it's not a few people, it's not a few people doing everything perfectly, but it's everyone doing everything just a little imperfectly. So as long as everyone's making steps, if you're recycling, or if you're just using a little bit less food waste, or if you're just doing X or Z, Y or Z, that all adds up and helps.
Yeah, I think like Sammy said, one of the things I would say is just like to continuously like educate yourself on like different facts about the environment and like policies, and like, you know, I obviously have to do that too, because I didn't even know Priyerna's fact about like North Carolina. But yeah, I think like just knowing about like who's actually contributing to climate change and who it's affecting the most and how it's affecting people like today and right now, I think that's really important. So I don't know, I would just like keep up to date with the news, I guess.
Yeah, and a couple of other things you can do are just like ways to reduce your waste, like bringing your own tote bag or making your own tote bag to the grocery store. Or, you know, you can always like start composting, and, you know, it saves a lot of food waste and it can actually do a really big deal, even if it's just for your household and just for you. So like you can also just focus on like reducing waste or being environmentally conscious by yourself or in your household, and then spread out and like start like learning more things or reading articles or spreading awareness. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do to be environmentally conscious without like, you know, going crazy or something. Another question we have in the chat are if we have any suggestions for podcasts about the environment.
I know there's this one podcast, I haven't really listened to it a lot, but it's called like How to Save a Planet, I think. And I know a lot of I like my club in Green Level High School, I know a lot of members in my club like to listen to that, and I think they talk a lot about like different issues, and I think they release like one episode every week, so I would check that out.
In the chat, someone said Green Dreamer is also a great podcast. Another question we have in the chat is, what do you think is the biggest environmental threat right now?
I would just say like inaction, like just like the denial of the climate crisis, and like how a lot of, especially people who are already like marginalized and struggling, like how they have to struggle even more because of like denial and yeah, like inaction.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely different aspects of problems that you can go about, just carbon dioxide, deforesting, and all of that. But I think one of the biggest problems is no one doing anything about it, or just accepting that it's like there, but once again, not doing anything. I think that's a big deal and a big issue. And I think it's important that we actually try to start action, and helping people start action is communication, just communicating to other people why they can do a few things and why they should do a few things. Yeah, oh, I think we have a couple more podcasts being listed in the chat, so you guys should definitely go check them out. Yeah, because podcasts are honestly a great way to spend your time if you have nothing to do. Okay, next question. And also, guys, feel free to add more questions in the chat. Okay, so what are your favorite low waste tips or tricks?
I take a water bottle with me everywhere. It's just one of the easiest things to do. We all like to stay hydrated, and places are, more and more having like water fountains and water refill stations available all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Also, like buying reusable grocery bags, I think is an easy and important thing you can do. Because when you like the plastic grocery bags that you normally get when you're grocery shopping aren't that great for the environment. And if you like try to like take that step into like bringing your own reusable bag, then it reduces the, I guess, the need for people to continue like giving out plastic bags. So like even if that like one person's action, you might not think that one person's action will really make a difference. It does. So definitely like using reusable bags whenever you can.
Those are both pretty good tips. And I think that with just with low waste and like practicing sustainability, have fun with it. There's so many DIY stuff that you can like find on YouTube, like with the tote bags things that I was talking about before. And also there was like this really cool project where someone took like a bunch of plastic water bottles and made it into a greenhouse. And I did that over summer, and it wasn't like the best, but it was still something fun. And honestly, yeah, just have fun with it.
That sounds so cool. I'm like interested in that now. But yeah, I agree. Like just making it fun. I think like don't feel bad if you can't always do things. But like one of the things I like to do is composting and like gardening. Like I don't only do it for the environment, but I also just do it because like it's really fun, and it, especially now like during the pandemic, it's like a safe thing to do, and it's also obviously friendly for the environment, but it's also kind of like calming and nice to just like sit with yourself, and maybe you could listen to like one of the podcasts in the chat.
I agree with Sammy. DIYs are always really fun to do, and like you can repurpose things and either do stuff for like your room or your house, or actually something useful. So yeah, I take all of my old mail and papers that I don't use anymore, and I make them into paper cranes. So my room is now filled with paper cranes. Okay. What are some recommendations for a first step to improve the environment around you, either in your community or in your household?
Definitely like just those like small individual things that you can do in your house, like taking shorter showers, turning off the light when you're not using it, carpooling with people. But also if you want to like do more beyond that, you could also always like repost infographics to your like social media, because I think social media is a great way to like send out like information to a larger audience. But you could also like attend climate events like climate strikes, or just a simple like community trash pickup, or like a park cleanup, or just anything like that. And I think if you would want to be like even more involved, you could like join these clubs and environmental organizations.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I always feel like a great first step, as well as just broaden your knowledge. Always be looking to understand the problem a little bit better, and then get out there and be active and be actively talking about it.
Yep. Okay. And then I guess this will be the final question. Maybe we'll see. What is something you want people to take away from this webinar? Like one important thing or multiple important things, but what do you want people to take away from this?
I could go first. Something that I want everyone who attended to take away is that, like, I can at least speak for myself when I say this. In no way, and I'm pretty sure someone said this before, but in no way am I like perfect with practicing sustainability. Like, I mess up sometimes. Sometimes I use a plastic water bottle when I don't bring my own water bottle, and it's fine because as long as you're putting in the effort, and the fact that you even joined this shows that you are putting in the effort to be more sustainable and stuff. And so, yeah, I think the effort is what really matters, and spreading awareness and stuff like that.
Yeah, adding on to what Sammy said, you don't have to be doing the most. You don't have to be like in multiple organizations or just constantly be trying to be environmentally conscious. But as long as you're putting in that effort somehow, like it doesn't have to be like on a mass extent, but as long as you're at least trying, I think that's really important and you're still like taking a step forward.
I would say that I definitely agree with what Prerna and Sammy said, and I would say that something I'd want people to take away is that, like, just like they said, like, don't put too much pressure on yourself, or like don't be down on yourself if you aren't like perfect, because no one's ever going to be. But I think the most important thing to do is just like to use your power and what you have, and like do things like stay educated, and go vote for candidates that you think will support your agenda on the climate.
Yeah, and I'd have to agree with everything that was said by everyone. Stole the words right out of my mouth.
Okay, great. So I guess that's all for the questions. So we do have a resource page that we will send out in an email to you guys. And on top of this research page, as Sammy has mentioned multiple times, we are t-shirt tote bags. But we have a video on how to make t-shirt tote bags, and you guys can either use these tote bags for yourself, or you guys can donate them to the Cary Farmers Market. We are also planning on having a litter sweep sometime in a month or so. And if you guys come to that litter sweep, which is going to be at Green Level High School, you guys can also bring your t-shirt tote bags there, and we'll donate it to the farmers market ourselves. We will have, as I said, a resource page, which will also have other websites and videos, just how to communicate about the environment, and it'll be linked in that email. And yeah, so thank you guys for coming. This was a really great webinar. If you guys have any questions, there will be a place on the event page or the research page, I'm not quite sure, of where you can ask questions, and we will try to answer them as soon as possible. So thank you for coming. Bye.